Debbie, how many people do you have there? Can't tell.
About 20, I'm gonna say 30. Oh. Hello, welcome to Denver Rotary Club. It is so great to have you all here. We have such an incredible program. One quick face mask announcement. When you're away from your table, make sure you have your face mask on. So that, wanted to reiterate that. Also, I just got an email this morning about RI convention, which is virtual this year. If you sign up by tomorrow, it's only $49. Lots of sessions, fun things to do, networking, breakouts. So if you want information, it didn't make it in the recap, so reach out to me and I'll send it to you. But that's a screaming deal instead of paying to go to Taiwan. So hope you'll join me there. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our inspirational moment today is really inspirational. And first, before we start with that, it is Virgil Scott's birthday. So everybody take yourself off mute real quick and say happy birthday.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Virgil.
To you.
Happy birthday.
And many more. Virgil is our past Denver Rotary Club Foundation president and also principal of Virgil Scott Consulting.
Thank you, President Debbie. The legacy of Don Schloop continues to grow. I know for many of us, we have been inspired and our lives have been forever touched in a positive way by this special man. I realize that we have many guests joining us today that may not have known Don. Don was a very, very active Rotary Club of Denver member for 21 years. He was born on April 30th, 1937, and he left us for heaven on September 25, 2019. I was blessed beyond words to have Don in my life, thanks to the Rotary Club of Denver. In 2012, I began working in the kitchen at our peach sale day. That would be the one on that. Whoa, the one right there. We'll get there. Okay. I began working in 2012 at the peach sale day alongside the chief pancake flipper extraordinaire. That man right there in the middle. You want to go to the next one? This is on August 13, 2016. Don was teaching my then 10-year-old daughter how to be an extraordinary pancake flipper. Next. Boom, first pancake, perfect. What a teacher. Go to the next one. And Don was there every year at the grill, flipping pancakes, and you can tell he had a great time and he had such a positive influence on the rest of us. You can go to the next one there. Don and I also served together on the Denver Rotary Club Foundation's Board of Trustees and the club's Rotary Club Foundation Support Committee. These frequent engagements fostered a special bond between us. We had many conversations for many hours talking about philanthropy. I was so fortunate to have Don share with me his very personal perspective on this topic. When our foundation started its Legacy Society back in 2014, Don and Margot stepped forward to become charter members. No surprise, leading by example. On June 25th of that year, after a foundation board meeting, Don and I sat down for an interview session. He knew that his comments would eventually be shared. He opened up. We grew up poor on a small farm in Missouri. We were poor but didn't know it. Everybody worked together. Neighbor helping neighbor. Everybody helped out. Regarding the spirit of giving, he shared, I'm no different than anybody else because of my philanthropy. Life, it's been a great ride. I've been very blessed. I have a great wife, a wonderful family, and super friends. Giving back is only the right thing to do. You either like to share or you don't. I want to be remembered as a guy that shared and helped people be the best that they can be. That was always my philosophy as a teacher. To whom much is given, much is expected. Yes, Don liked to share, as does Margot. As Denver Rotary Club Foundation Legacy Society members, that our state has made a distribution to the foundation to establish the Don and Margot Schloop Family Endowment. The annual distribution from that endowment will be unrestricted. Don was such a strong endowment advocate. I can't say that strongly enough. And now the legacy of Don and his family and their positive impact will be felt by our club and our community forever. You'll hear more about the Schloop Family Endowment at a later date. Additionally, an estate distribution will benefit the Rotary Foundation as well. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Margot. Regarding the Rotary Foundation, Don and I struck up a few conversations about the Paul Harris Fellow matching points that each of us had been awarded for making donations to the International Foundation. We talked about the concept of using our points to award Paul Harris Fellows to members of our respective families. I learned that Don shared that concept with Margot. Recently, Margot took action. Today, President Debbie Beasley is recognizing 2 new Paul Harris Fellows. President Debbie.
Well, I had the honor of being with Don on the Rotary Foundation Committee for many years, and he also touched my heart, and the Schloop family has always touched our hearts. We have pins to bestow on you, if you would come forward. Lisa and David. Stay right here so the camera picks you guys up. Right over. How's that?
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, David and Lisa. Thank you, Debbie. One last item. Thank you. He'd say, "You're a good writer." Not me. I'm a good talker. And that comment was reflective of the dozens and dozens of calls that he made to family and friends on Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter. So Don sent me this card in May 2017 after his birthday. Dear Virgil, many thanks for your birthday gift to Rotary in my name. You are a special friend. I appreciate your thoughtfulness. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Regards, Don. To do my part to continue to grow the Don Schloop legacy, here's another birthday gift in honor of Don. This one to DRCF's Don and Margot Schloop Family Endowment. Don and Margot, Lisa and David, what a special family. Thank you for inspiring us.
All right, that was pretty special. So we have a full room here, and next up is Troy Szymanski, our club secretary. He's going to pan the room for us so everybody on Zoom can see what it looks like. He'll also zoom the Zoom so you can see how you look to us. So with that, Troy is going to do our announcement. He is our club secretary and partner and fund manager of Outpost Fund.
All right, thanks very much, President Debbie. So we're going to start with, what's that for? Oh, I have one slide. It's no big deal. So I think Lauren's going to spotlight my camera. And so we're going to see, hey, everybody, wave. Big, I need whole arm waves, not just hands. We want to see everybody. There we go. Hey, everybody. Oh, we also have a hybrid, member here that is wearing creative clothing. Why don't you show us?
Below the camera for Zoom, above for the meeting.
He did say below the camera for Zoom, above for the in-person meeting. We're glad that he, I guess, bit the bullet of wearing sweatpants and tennis shoes to the Zoom. There was no sacrifice involved.
Well, I changed for this one. It's not quite.
He says he changed for this, but I like to imagine he just wears that all day. As we get started, I want to start off by welcoming all of our guests. There are so many. Today's guest day. So we're just going to rattle them off. First and foremost, my mom, Dana Szymanski, is joining. She's also, again, where I got this amazing Rotary mask. So thank you for joining. We have Cheryl Ryan joining us in person today as a guest of Melly Kennard. Cody Lowe is joining us also in person, a guest of Colleen Kozad. We also want to welcome the Schloop family. We've already seen a little bit of, so thank you again, Margot, David, and Lisa, guests of Virgil Scott today. And then I'm just gonna rapid fire. And by the way, if I don't mention your name, and even if I do, all the way through right now and later, we want you to put your name. If you're from another Rotary club, put your Rotary club. If you're from another city, put your city, your location. We want all of this in the chat. We want to have a lot of really good conversation as this gets going. So we want to welcome Sharon Stone, guest of Jim Goddard, Stuart Zoll, guest of Chad Tyler, Karen Fleck, Carol Kubrick, Brandon Lloyd, Stephanie Bennett, Deidre Espinoza, Jim Rohr, all guests of Mike Deneen. Thank you all for joining. And then we want, like I said, don't be shy. I want you guys to put your names in the chat. Let us welcome you the way that we wish we could in person. But, of course, as a hybrid Zoom meeting, we are going to be able to have some great, cool stuff. So we want to take advantage of Zoom as we can. Birthdays. There are 2 this week. We already sang happy birthday to Virgil Scott. And there's one more birthday later this week on the 11th. Happy birthday to Dale Harris. So wish me happy, join me in wishing these 2 fine gentlemen happy birthdays this week. And then some announcements. Our next virtual happy hour is Wednesday, May 12th. That is next week at 5:30 p.m. And the Zoom link will be provided in our Tuesday meeting email. Our next hybrid meeting is the following week on Thursday, May 20th from noon to 1 p.m. And we will celebrate your Denver Rotary Club Foundation. Reservations for our in-person attendees will be sent out tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. We look forward to seeing you all at the district conference this weekend. Reservations to attend virtually close at midnight tonight. So if you haven't RSVP'd, this is your last chance. Registration and the agenda are also going to be in the meeting recap email to follow at about 1 o'clock Mountain Time today. The May 8th District Day of Service is this weekend. Are you signed up for a service project? If you're not, the trail cleanup for the Cherry Creek is a great opportunity. You should reach out to Jim Johnson if you're interested in that. Finally, don't forget to check the meeting recap for some cordial invites to Denver Kids Achieving Dreams virtual event and Downtown Denver Partnerships State of Downtown Denver. If you have any questions whatsoever, obviously you can reach out to me, but Lauren has done an incredible job putting together the meeting recap email, and believe me, it is all there. So keep an eye out for that later this afternoon. And I believe that is it for me. I'm going to hand it back over to President Debbie.
All right. Chad Tyler is the VP of our membership team. He's also president and partner of Tyler Duncan Realty Partners.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians and guests that we have here today. As Debbie mentioned, I'm Chad Tyler, and it's been my pleasure to chair the membership committee for the last 2 years. And one of the things that excites me about being a Rotarian is the many wonderful speakers that we get from week to week. And that's a function of the fact that all of our members here are very well networked, and you guys have great relationships outside the club and within the club. And as a result of those contacts, you are able to bring great speakers here week after week. So I get really excited about that. In addition to that, also our events committee does a great job. They, of course, have a very big hand in that. They work very hard. So let's have a little shout out to our events committee. Let's give them a nice round of applause. So as I mentioned, one of the things that excites me is our speakers from week to week. However, the other thing, there are many other things that being a Rotarian also excite me and are also assets to being a member. I just want to highlight a few of those things. First of all, I know it's very important to our club members and also myself, having been a Rotarian for about 20 years, to be able to build longstanding relationships and expand my professional network, my friendship network from the contacts here in the club and building meaningful relationships with club members. Also from our weekly speakers, it's also a great opportunity for personal advancement, leadership development, and personal development. In addition to that, as many of you know, or all of us know, a big part of Rotary is service. Hence the motto, service above self. So there's an opportunity to give back to the community and also to do international service for those that are of interest. And we do this collaboratively amongst all of our Rotary members. In addition to that, last but certainly not least, there's an opportunity to have fun, to add more fun into your lives. And we try and infuse fun in everything we do here at Rotary. So for those of you that are considering membership, we certainly would welcome a dialogue with you and welcome the opportunity to answer any questions that you have. And as I mentioned earlier, I certainly look forward to the weekly speakers, and today is no exception with Angelo Caruso. And in a little bit, Michael Deneen will be making that introduction. We appreciate you Michael, lining up that speaker today. So thank you very much. Raise your hand, wave to everybody. Awesome. Thank you. And just a couple last things. As we're 2 months away from wrapping up the Rotary year, I want to thank all of those that have served on the membership committee. Do we have them up there? There we go. So I'm not going to read their names, but they've all put in a lot of hard work, and we appreciate their efforts on behalf of the club. The other thing I want to mention is that in the ordinary course of the ending of the Rotary year, the start of a new Rotary year, we have a change of leadership. And in the case of the membership committee, club member Chris Hemingway is going to be taking over and leading the membership committee. So we appreciate Chris stepping up for that role. Chris, he owns a company called Statera Media. They're a full service marketing and media company. And I'm sure his skill set will be well suited for this role. So again, we appreciate Chris stepping up. So with that, President Debbie, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you for all you've done for membership. All right, this is the exciting for me. We are going to introduce our speaker. Mike Deneen is going to make that introduction for us. Mike is the Senior District Executive Director of Boy Scouts of America, and he is a lifetime Rotarian. Yeah, baby.
Very good, and thank you, Debbie. It is my pleasure to introduce everyone today to Mr. Michael Angelo Caruso. He teaches people how to become better speakers and presenters so that they can help more people and amp up their careers. He utilizes his unique background in technology and a separate career in the entertainment business to deliver keynote speeches that feel like a combination of your best teacher and your favorite comedian. Michael delivers about 70 presentations and keynote speeches a year. He has spoken on 5 continents and 49 of the 50 states in the US. Michael is known for getting extremely fast results with his clients. He can make anyone a better communicator and regularly demonstrates his effective communication strategies by helping audience members improve during his presentations. Caruso is founder and president of Edison House, an international consulting firm specializing in corporate and personal improvement. Edison House includes clients such as Hallmark, the Bank of America, Verizon Wireless, Rayovac, Citco, Nissan, and the US Navy. Michael has authored work hacks, an audiobook, Dear Michael Angelo, A Father's Life Letters to His Son, and Present Like a Pro, the DVD, all of which are available at www.michelangelocaruso.com. He also has a highly rated online speaker coaching masterclass titled Present Like a Pro. A lifetime Rotarian, Michael loves giving back, and he enjoys exercising, movies, nonprofit books, and travel. So it is my pleasure today to introduce Mr. Michael Angelo Caruso, who will be discussing the topic with us today of the psychology of persuasion.
Thank you, Mike Deneen. Greetings from Detroit, Michigan, everybody. It's nice to see your smiling faces on online and also in person. These hybrid meetings are challenging to say the least, but it looks like you're doing them about as well as any club I've experienced. I'm very fortunate to do about 100 Rotary talks a year. I never charge Rotary for talks because it's my give back to the organization that I love so much. And it's my pleasure to be with you today to talk about persuasion. For those of you that are retired or perhaps not in the persuasion trade, maybe you're not in sales per se, we all use persuasion to some extent. If you're interested in growing your Rotary club, you're probably interested in convincing visitors that it's a good idea for them to come back for a second, maybe a third visit, maybe even put in a membership application. If you belong to a condo association, you're probably trying to persuade your neighbors not to put too much crap on their porch. And if If you're on your committee at church, you want people to give more money to the church so that you can repair the church roof. So we all need persuasion at some point in our lives. And it's interesting to me that persuasion's gotten a bad name through the years. Salespeople, unfortunately, are not highly regarded in our society. You're probably aware there's now a do not call registry in the United States, which means it's actually illegal for you to call somebody and try to sell them something. Many states also have a do not knock registry, making it illegal to visit the premise of someone that you want to sell something to. So sales has become extremely difficult. When I do sales training, even salespeople feel bad about selling. I hear a lot of salespeople during the sales pitch actually say these words: "I'm not trying to sell you anything here." And to that, I just say, that's kind of ridiculous. Of course, you're trying to sell something. There's no shame in trying to sell something, especially if you're doing it ethically and morally and legally. And there's certainly no shame in trying to get someone to change their opinion or convince them to do something that might be in their best interest. And that's the approach that I'd like to take today as we talk about the benefits of persuasion and some simple techniques that you can use to increase your persuasion skills. Can I get a quick thumbs up from the people on the screen? And of course, there's you can do it live as well, just to take a look around the room, just to see how many people actually persuade for a living. If you're in sales of any kind, please give me a thumbs up. If you are in leadership of any kind, give me a thumbs up. Leaders need to persuade their team to do things. If you live with another human being, give me a thumbs up. Thank you very much. Pretty soon, all of you will be deciding where to go on your first big trip out of the house, and that's going to be some persuasion, you can bet. So this idea of getting somebody to change their mind in politics is called flip-flopping. And politicians can quickly lose their constituent base by changing their mind about anything. And what's interesting to me is that if you can present compelling data or evidence or facts that can get someone to see something a different way, well, good on you. I think that's a good thing. I don't think it's a good idea to flip and then flop and then flip and then flop. But if you change your mind about something, say once every 10 or 15 years based on new information, there's nothing wrong with that. I do think there's something wrong about coming on too hard when you're trying to persuade somebody. Nobody likes aggressive persuaders or aggressive salespeople. And unfortunately, Rotary does this a bit. You know, someone will sit next to us at a 10 top at lunch and we say, "Hey, how are you? You're visiting today?" And they go, "Yeah." And they go, "Maybe you'd like to join." And you're like, right away, you know, we're at them trying to, you know, get them to sign up. And I'm like, take it easy. You know, let's ask them a few questions first. Let's you know, develop a rapport and relationship. Now, when I teach this in an online sales course, I call this the reverse presentation. And simply put, the reverse presentation means that if I'm trying to sell you something, before I launch into my presentation, I'm going to try to get you to present to me first. So let's put Rotary clothes on this discussion. If you sit next to me at a 10 top as a visitor to a Rotary Club meeting, instead of me pressing you right away on all the benefits of joining our great organization, and there are many, I first want to know a little bit about you. Do you have a partner at home? Do you have children? Do you like to travel? What do you do for fun? Are you still working? If you're working, what industry are you in? These types of things. And once I collect a bit of information about you, then I know more about how I can present Rotary to you in a way that you would be more likely to be warm to it. Salespeople call this identifying the hot button, right? We don't have to be that dramatic about it. Just ask the person some questions about themselves first, and then you know what perspective they have about life or things in general, and you can use that language when you're presenting back to them. Back to the work trade, when I do ride-alongs with salespeople, we'll walk in, and it's amazing how the salesperson talks about their presentation. It's always me, me, me. Thank you for taking the time to visit with me today, so I can tell you about my company. I have a great PowerPoint presentation for you. I need 25 minutes. Can we get started now? And it's all about them. And I find by taking as much as 10 minutes at the start of a 1-hour meeting to talk about nothing but the other person, and then casually, almost accidentally rolling into my own presentation, I have a much better foothold for a relationship, whether the person decides to buy from me or not. So this is the idea that that we are trying to convey to you today. So there are three. I mentioned I was going to give you some techniques for this. The abbreviation I'd like to use today is STP. If you've got a pen, you want to write these down, you won't remember them. And I'm going to be recommending videos, movies, books that you can read that and research that I've done that will convince you that this is absolutely the way to go. STP stands for signals, technique, and progress. Signals, technique, and process. And if you use this STP process, you'll be much further ahead with your persuasion abilities. So signals are about tone, everybody. We're talking now about that give and take that happens before you actually start the persuasion, right? How are you? Tell me about yourself. Where did you take your last trip to? What do you like to do for fun, right? That kind of give and take is very, very useful versus the data dump, starting right away with the data dump. I prefer something called open questions. So the difference between an open question and a closed question. Closed questions are often called binary questions. They only have two answers, yes or no. Open questions cannot be answered that simply. The other person would have to explain themselves a little bit. They'd have to talk to you, right? So I'd rather ask you, how has your family been faring during COVID, rather than how are you feeling today? Because how are you feeling today, the default answer is always going to come back, fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And they might ask me how I'm doing, and the answer is fine. You know, we're not getting anywhere here. So if I say something like, how is your family faring? Do you have a spouse or a partner at home? Do you have children? How do they feel about all this? Now we've got this kind of give and take, and I can learn a little bit about your natural habitat. That's very helpful. Open questions help you get that done. And then finally, it culminates in the reverse presentation. Once I feel like I have enough information about you to understand at least the basics about where you're coming from, I can then start my presentation. Now, my presentation will also be using internal signals to monitor, almost like a GPS, like I'm on a journey. And I'll be using things that we call in the sales trade trial closes, anchors, right? These are things that we can use to get the other person to tell us we're on the right path. An anchor might be, does this sound good to you so far? A trial close might be, does Rotary sound like it might be a good fit for you? Because I don't want to keep talking about it for another 20 minutes if you already belong to Kiwanis and there's no chance you're ever leaving Kiwanis, right? I'd like to talk about something else. So these are some of the techniques that can be used. The T in STP stands for technique. I want to show you a couple of techniques for active listening. Some of you are doing it right now. Harriet on the screen is doing it. Harriet, don't move. You're doing a technique called the thinker pose, and all of us can do it. I see that Shannon is doing it right now as well. The thinker pose, everybody, is just done by, and we can all do it together. Thank you, Richard Spong, you're doing it. Just move one of your hands very slowly to your chin like this, everybody. That's it. And you might nod your head just slightly, right? It doesn't mean you agree with me necessarily. It just means you understand me or that you're listening to me, right? And this is active listening. There's no more powerful signal to send another person that you care about them than to do this while they're talking, right? It's just, I'm listening to you. This is fascinating. Thank you very much. So a lot of people think it's corny, but this is the type of nonverbal confirmation that precedes and is embedded in a good sales presentation. So active listening is important. I also employ something called the cognitive biases. Now, these were first discovered by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. Kahneman actually won a Nobel Prize for this. The cognitive biases are simple psychological or behavioral psychology that allow you to understand how people think, how they get through, how they navigate a persuasive presentation. I'll give you 3 quick examples of cognitive biases. The first one is called optimism bias, right? So soon a bunch of presidents 35,000 presidents will take over for 35,000 clubs all over the world. And some of those presidents will have what's called optimism bias. Their attitude will be, well, COVID's over now. I can't do worse than last year. I don't really have to try. I could just phone this presidency in and everything's going to be fine. And they will find out very quickly that's not how you have a good year as president of a Rotary Club. The opposite of optimism bias is pessimism bias. And pessimism bias says, well, our club hasn't grown for 4 years. We've had some pretty good presidents before me. I might as well not even try. And that president would be a victim of pessimism bias. A third type of bias is blind side bias. As a communication consultant that comes in and works with sales teams and leadership teams, I've got an executive coaching session online right after this session today. As a consultant, my job is to tell these executives what's working in their organizations and what's not working. And when I tell them what's not working, invariably the executive says to me, they even go like this, these are my own techniques against me. They go like this and they go, I don't see it. And I'm like, well, of course you don't see it. It's your organization. You have blindside bias. We all have things we don't see coming. And so as a consultant, I'm trying to help him see that blind spot, right, that he can't see. And that's my challenge in the consulting world. I also teach 22 sales closes. So there are lots of different techniques for persuasion. A very quick example of that is called the right angle close or the sharp angle close. A lot of people get mired in answering all the objections, trying to deal with people that have issues with different characteristics of whatever it is you're trying to get them to do. And sometimes I just close a deal by saying, why don't you just try it? You can always get a refund if you don't like it, or you can always quit the club in 90 days if you don't like it. Why don't you join? I bet you're going to really enjoy it. And they say, okay. And they say, give me an application. And I got a pretty good record for bringing Rotarians in, often with that very same right angle or sharp angle close. The P in STP is progress. So far we have signals for S, technique for the T in STP, and the final initial is P for progress. If you're going to be a champion persuader, if you're going to be a champion collector of funds for, say, sponsorships for events, for the Denver Rotary Club, you need to get really good at closing. That's what we call it in the sales parlance. And closing is about asking for the order. I tell people when I'm teaching presentation skills, they present like a pro program that Mike Deneen was telling you about. I say, you've got to have a call to action. You've got to tell people to actually do something at the end of your presentation. So it's called the CTA. And I've posted into chat, I'll do it one more time for you here. These links that I want to encourage you to check out. Here they come again. And for those of the administrators can get this from the TXT file in chat and share them with the people at the live meeting. But if you're live right now and you just want to write them down, I'll tell you where to find the links. I have a an effective leadership book that is available to you. It's free, it's an ebook, it's 30 pages. My gift to you, michaelangelocaruso.com/leader-ebook. michaelangelocaruso.com/leader-ebook. If you do speaking of any kind, you want to join my free Present Like a Pro group on Facebook, ongoing tips on how you can be a better speaker and presenter. If you are interested in growing your Rotary Club, raising more money, or getting attention for the greatest service organization in the world, join my free Get the Word Out Now group on Facebook. I see some people are doing this right now in real time. Good for you. And then finally, my fun newsletter, which goes out every Friday. You'll look forward to this email every week. It's called the Friday 5, michaelangelocaruso.com/Friday-5. So those are the techniques for making things happen when you are doing good things for Rotary and trying to persuade people to do things. I want to tell you a quick story, and then we'll open up for Q&A, and I'll answer anything we have time for. And I know you can get the questions live by queuing up for Debbie, President Debbie, And you can also message chat or the administrator in chat, and we'll get you happy. And some of you attended this event, I think. I happen to be public image coordinator for Zone 28 in my part of the world. Oh, I see people are already ordering up the ebook. Well done. So as public image coordinator for Zone 28, my job was to stage a training session, and Director Valerie Wafer, who has just been named Vice President of Rotary for the 21-22 Rotary year, said to me, Michael, whatever you do when you hold this training, let's not call it a training. People are zoomed out. Let's make it creative and fun. I said, you got it. So we named the event Public Image, the Musical. Thumbs up if this is a mildly interesting title, if you're somewhat intrigued by this. Yeah, you know that we had 650 registrations for this little zone event, 650 registrations. We had everybody on the public image team, my public image team, has a special skill. So somebody spoke about video marketing, somebody spoke about copywriting, somebody spoke about the database, Club Runner or DACDB. Somebody spoke about Instagram stories. We did 8 tight 5-minute presentations. And this program ran like a TV show. It was amazing. And so what we did in our own little way was, first of all, persuade people to log on to something that they might not have cared about in any other capacity. But we use a technique called disruptive marketing to get their attention. We pulled these registrants into the program. We collected their emails in the registration. We remarketed to them afterwards, sending them not only the full-length video, but now we're rolling out the individual videos, the segments. And the whole thing was about getting them to invite our consultants, public image consultants, to speak to their clubs, districts, and membership committees. And we've had more invitations to speak in the last couple of weeks here than we had all year, thanks to this event. So we know these persuasion techniques work. Nobody likes to be sold to, and we know that a lot of people don't like to sell. But if you substitute the verb, right, instead of the verb sell, substitute help or educate, right, or entertain. And the whole sales process takes on a much different tone. It's something that everybody rather enjoys, they look forward to, and you'll find that they'll even recommend you to other people. Why don't you talk to my friend so-and-so? He'd like to hear from you on this. So I hope you've enjoyed my content today. I'm happy to take questions to President Debbie, or I know you've got a system for collecting these, and Lauren has been great in talking me in and organizing the questions for us today. So what kind of questions do you have for me? Let's see if we can get some of those on the table for you. By the way, while we're queuing up the first question,
Michael,
yes.
it's good to see you. It's Debbie Beasley.
Hi, Debbie.
And I told people when I introduced Mike Deneen as lifetime Rotarian baby, it's because on Michael's LinkedIn profile, it says he's a lifetime Rotarian baby. And I told him I'm a lifetime Rotarian in my heart, baby. So link up with him in LinkedIn as well as the other things he has shared. So we're going to start with questions in the room. And while you queue up here with your mask, I'll start with one that did come on my chat. So if you've got questions, come on up. Here's one from the chat. If aggressive, hard-nosed, tough-minded persuasion is not welcome or very effective, how is it possible that that today persuasion by certain politicians and political parties recognized as negative, contentious, and bellicose seem to be so successful?
Well, I think those types of people exist in the sales world too. And we develop, not surprisingly, a love-hate relationship with people that come on strong. So they always have a following. And they always have the haters. I'm not too concerned about that scoreboard. What interests me is my own reputation and how I want to be thought of in my community. I can tell you that there are 2 things that motivate people every single time. Write them down, everybody. You can take this to the bank. The anticipation of pleasure and the avoidance of pain. And in any political election, there's usually at least one opponent who is marketing the potential pain of what would happen if you elect the other person. right? Sometimes it's called negative campaigning. And there are a lot of people waiting for this type of message. It speaks to them. So it works. And to the extent that our society wants to honor that type of thing, we'll just keep getting it. And it's the same thing true in industries. I went to a medical conference recently in Cleveland, and I didn't see any of that. You know, they knew that we had doctors on the stage with reputations, and they wanted to come in the educational door of the brain. So there was none of this casting shadow on the competing companies or anything like that. It's just, here's what we have to offer. Here are the benefits of using our product. Here's the evidence that our product works, right? And by the way, that company did a lot of business that weekend. There were people in the lobby calling their bank to get $250,000 loans so they could buy this equipment for their practices. So both techniques work. It just depends on your flavor. Other questions?
We're drumming them up in the room here, and I've got one from Mike Deneen.
Great. I know Mike's coming up to the front. By the way, everybody, I came up in the music business in the 80s. And in this, probably the first boy band ever, we opened for acts like Rick Springfield, Corey Hart, Joan Jett. There's video of the Caruso brothers band on YouTube, Michael with big hair. We learned how to be persuasive in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Why? Because when we're playing in clubs, we had to get people to the dance floor. That's how we were gauged if we were a good band. And the introduction to the song was only 10 seconds. If you didn't have a good backbeat, people sat in their seats and we didn't get asked back. Hey, Mike, how are you?
Wonderful. And that was my question. Somehow the telepathy is in with the acute powers in the room. My secondary question would then be, if you had 5 seconds and you had 20 seconds to invite someone to explore your business, or if you were persuading someone to a line of thinking, or if you were introducing them to Rotary, how would you present that in such a short time format?
One of the easiest shorthand is a heuristic, right? A shorthand or verbal shorthand for getting right to the point when I'm selling. For example, I teach presentation skills. And someone will say, and I'll do a free consult with anybody that wants to do one, right? Because if we're not a good fit, I don't want to work with you. You don't need me. And you don't want to work with me if we're not a good fit. So let's at least talk to each other and see if we're a fit. And so if I have 5 seconds, if I'm in a game show format, I'll say to the other person, what is your biggest problem with speaking? And then I watch their eyes, because we always meet on Zoom or in person. And if they say to me, well, I really don't have any problems, any challenges with speaking, I say, well, then it sounds like we're not a good fit. And they almost take like a half step back and they go, why would you say that? We just started talking. And I said, well, because I help people that have challenges and problems, and you just told me you don't have any. And now they work backwards trying to convince me how bad their speaking is so that I'll work with them. You see, isn't that interesting? But I'm coming from a real genuine place. If you don't have any problems, I can't help you. So let's agree. You know, we could save a lot of time here. We booked an hour. We'll be done in 15 minutes. It'll be great. So it's fascinating how psychology works. I see we have another question queued up.
Hi, and thanks so very much for your presentation. It's so incredibly important. I have always told my kids, I don't care whether you think you're in sales or not, you are. I don't think there's anything that you're selling yourself, you're selling something. We try to ask members, everybody's a member of the membership committee, so try to promote Rotary. What advice would you give to, and a lot of people are hesitant, reluctant, nervous. What advice would you give to people in terms of an approach for sort of a GI strike up a conversation and Rotary comes up and here's what I say?
Well, I like what you did today to first, you know, you got to get their attention. And I like the concept of visitor day. I see 65 people in the chat room here. And I don't know how many in the physical room. I couldn't quite get a count, but maybe we're closing in on 80 or 100 people. And everybody that's new in the room should be asked, you know, what did you like about today? Do you think you'd like to come back for a second visit? My club even pays for your lunch the second time, because we know if you don't come back a second time, you're not going to come back a third time. And if you don't come back a third time, we can't give you an application. We can't consider you for membership. So everything is about getting you to the next step. And I was taken by what you said, sir, about your kids being in persuasion. I'm thinking about kids that go to the teacher to appeal a grade. You know, I don't think it's a C-. Can we talk about this? That's persuasion, man. And to the extent that your eye contact is good and you can convince the teacher that you know the content and that you just didn't test well that day, or that the paper, you accidentally misspoke in the paper or something, you can sometimes get the benefit of the doubt. This is done all the time in life with people who have terrific communication skills. President Debbie.
So I want to just fill you in that the person who asked that question, Steve, is the father of Lauren Mast, just so you know.
Terrific.
So I do have a couple other questions that came through. So what is your elevator speech about why join Rotary?
Yeah, so I told you I was going to give you some videos that you could check out. On YouTube, there is a rather famous video.
Is that the Fargo one?
I'm trying to think of the exact title, but I would start with my name, Michael Angelo Caruso, when you search YouTube. And then what is Rotary, I think is the title. What is Rotary? So it's 6 words, right? Michael Angelo Caruso, what is Rotary? And the video is a scenario of what happens when I'm out and about in the physical world and I'm wearing my Rotary pin. And you guys probably go through this too. People see the pin, and especially if you don't have the master brand where it actually says Rotary, it's just the wheel. People say, what's that pin for? Thumbs up if anybody's ever asked you, what's that pin for? And I always say, well, it's Rotary. And then 99% of those people always say, well, what's Rotary? It's a big waste of time because we're spending a lot of time here on a fairly non-nutritious conversation. I'd rather get right to it. So when they say, what's that pin for? I say, it's the best decision I ever made. And what do you think 99% of those people say? Why? See, that's a big difference in sales. If I'm trying to persuade you to do something, it's a much different challenge than when you're showing interest in something that you want to do. Critical difference. And when they say, well, best decision you ever made, I want some of that, everybody goes, what, I taught a program for a while. It was called with the psychology of attraction, but I was talking about emotional or psychic attraction, not necessarily physical attraction. And I was on an elevator before my keynote. Nobody knew who I was because I hadn't done my keynote yet. But a bunch of these delegates, these conference delegates, get on the elevator, and they're all going around the elevator about where everybody's from and what they do. And they got to me last, and I said, "Well, I'm your keynote speaker." And they all started tittering, "Oh, he's the keynote speaker. What are you going to speak about?" And I said, "Well, I teach people how to be attractive." And they laughed like it was the biggest punchline in the world. One guy pointed at another guy, said, "He needs you." One guy said, I got to be there for that talk. So again, it's that sort of disruptive, fun, unexpected sales pitch that pulls people in and intrigues them enough to be present for the actual pitch. Debbie.
Well, you know what I always say when people ask me, I love Rotary. So that's a good one. Here's another question from the Zoom crowd. Who is the best persuader in the world right now?
That's a good question. I can tell you who the best persuader is about to be, Will Smith. Anybody seen that picture of the fat Will Smith? Thumbs up. I saw that and I'm like, what the hell is this? Will Smith, known for action movies, discipline, very hard worker. And boy, this boy is plumped up during COVID. And he's unabashedly posing in the photograph. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I know he's got an interesting family, a lot of stuff going on in his family. He's an actor who hasn't been working. What happened to this guy? Come to find out, he's starting a new YouTube series titled, wait for it, how to, get in the best shape of my life, or something like this. He's going to enter into this YouTube show and lose all this weight, do before and after pictures. He's going to be very inspirational for all kinds of people coming out of COVID, especially people in the trade, especially Black people, anybody that likes, any Will Smith fans. His following, women, anybody that likes Will Smith is going to be all over this. And because he's going through it and demonstrating how to get back into shape, he's going to sell them on getting in shape. And I'll bet you there's going to be some pitches. And Mark Wahlberg's got a new one right now. He's pretty good at this. It's called Wall Street. I forget what platform it's on, but he's selling you his t-shirts. He's selling you his workout regime. He's selling you Wahlburger hamburgers, right? So the pitches now are happening kind of behind the scenes from these celebrities, but everybody's pitching something. There's no shame in that. So Will Smith, keep an eye on him.
All right, another question. What persuasion techniques would you recommend to retain a Rotarian?
Well, engagement is by far the best. You know, if they've rolled up their sleeves and they're involved, this is huge. If they own something, if they own a committee, if they have ownership in some aspect of an event, huge. In fact, the leading indicators for people drifting from Rotary, and you've probably seen the famous John Hugo speech by now, John, the CEO of Rotary in Evanston. John Hugo says, everybody that leaves Rotary leaves within the first 3 years. And they've chased it. They've got hard data on this. It's because they weren't actually involved in the club. Or if they were involved in the club, the experience was less than. So you've got to get them to have ownership and do something. And then they're so involved that they'd never leave. For me, you know, becoming president of my small Rotary club, we only have 50 members in Troy. I became a stakeholder. I was keeper of the key, you know, to the club. And I never thought of my club the same way again. And I never had that feeling before president. Now we hope, especially in a club the size of the Denver club, you just can't have everybody be president all at the same time. So what other ways can, and I like how President Debbie's moving the microphone around and spotlighting people, and you're doing the virtual happy hour and letting people share in the process. The virtual meeting itself is a great way to involve more people than otherwise might be involved. So bravo.
All right, this is the last question I have from the Zoom team. How would you persuade someone interested in Rotary whose primary concern is the financial investment?
Yeah, I hear that a lot. And because Rotary a lot of us are pleasers, our first instinct is, well, let's do away with the dues. And I'm like, bloody hell, people, have you lost your minds? We can't be an organization without dues. There are organizations without dues. They don't get nearly as much done. They don't have as many resources to work with. So I think the best way to do that is to pre-qualify, right? Like, let's start with something simple. Unemployed people who have money issues, who are in debt, are not a good fit for Rotary, not if they're going to pay dues. Now, some clubs have gotten clever about allowing them in on scholarships, or if they do a certain amount of work, the club picks up their dues. But it almost never works out in the long term. It's better to have people to have some sort of a financial stake in it, I think. And condo associations learned this a long time ago. You can't belong to a condo association and get out of that condo association fee, man, not done, right? So I think that there is a perceived value, and when you pay for something, you value it more. Just like these corporate memberships don't really work as well as everybody thinks they do. I don't know what's going on in the Denver club, but a lot of clubs have tried these corporate memberships where the corporation owns the membership. But what happens then is one person comes from the corporation for a while, and then nobody comes because nobody owns the membership. We see this all the time. Lauren types into chat, there are 32 people in the room. So we did close in on, let's say 57 in chat, 32 in the room, closing in on 100 at some point in the program. Bravo, everybody. Debbie, thank you so much. It's been just a delight to be with you all, and I look forward to connecting physically when I come to Denver. Maybe we can all get together again under better conditions.
You are always welcome. So as you know, we in Rotary are eradicating polio around the world. So we are donating to have 33 children inoculated against polio. And with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation 2-for-1 match, which I'm praying continues, That will be 100 children inoculated in your name.
Wow, thank you very much.
All right, next week's program will be online. It will be on the impact of the pandemic on Denver museums, and it will be a panel of Denver museum directors moderated by George Sparks, President and CEO of Nature and Science. The executive team is meeting in this room immediately after we adjourn. So we'd ask you to take fellowship out into the hall while we rearrange the room, and then we'll be back here with the executive team in about 5 minutes. Now with that, please join me in the Rotary four-way test. Think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build? And will it be fun? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Gotta run down and feed the meter.
Okay.